I'd like to call this meeting of the Elkhorn Common Council to order. It's August 19th, 2024 at 5:30. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Tim Sharota,
Here.
Peter Harvey,
Here.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Here.
Ron Dunwoody is absent, Scott McClory,
Here.
Ken Minell,
Here.
Kurt Harkness.
Here. We've got public comment. Do we have anybody here for public comment? All right. Seeing we do, I'll read our little statement here, and then you'll each get 3 minutes. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes each. The public may speak on any item of city concern, whether or not the topic is included on this agenda. However, if the topic does not pertain to an item listed on the council agenda, the council is not permitted to address or discuss the matter during this meeting. Under open meeting laws, the council must notice an item on the agenda to allow discussion on that matter. If council is not permitted to discuss your concerns, your comments will be considered and may be placed on a future agenda for further discussion. If you'd come up to the podium and state your name and your address.
Is this on?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, my name's John Henderson. My address is W4723 Pine Court in Elkhorn. It's actually in Town of Lafayette, Evergreen. I'm only here for a brief minute tonight to let you know, if you don't already know, that I'm running as a candidate for Assembly District 31, which includes Elkhorn and, of course, a lot more. And I just want to make sure you're aware of that. I've got some flyers I'll just leave with whoever I should leave with. You can pass them out. I don't need to take more time. Mainly just want to make sure you know I'm running. And I've been a lifelong resident of Elkhorn and been very active in the community. I think I've done a lot of good things here, and if you can support me, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, John.
I'll pass them out for you, but we can't keep political paperwork in the office. Thank you.
Okay, Dave?
Good afternoon. My name is David Crosby. I live at 39 Monica Drive here in Elkhorn. This pertains to, this is on the agenda, pertains to new business. Item number H, discussion and possible decision regarding contract with the city assessor accurate appraisals for the 2025-2029 contract. And this would like to give you a synopsis of my experience I had with them this year. I filed a market adjustment appeal with accurate appraisal through their web portal on or around April 20th. I called accurate appraisal May 6th at 10:23 a.m. to inquire about appeal status. Spoke with Kim Anderson, and she acknowledged receipt of both market adjustments for 91 Deer Road business property and 39 Monica Drive residential property. Kim indicated neither had been processed at that time. I stated time was of essence in completing an order for me to meet BOR 48-hour filing requirement. Kim Anderson assured me assessor's response would be forward in sufficient time to meet the filing deadline. I then called accurate appraisal May 22nd at 10:23 a.m. and spoke with Kim Anderson. I stated the appraiser's review had not yet been received. Kim then said she will check when Elkhorn's BOR is and see if it can be delivered to me in time. Then, with a slightly panicked voice, she stated, and I quote, "It's today," close quote. There was an inordinate amount of desperate CYA language that followed, and that was the end of the conversation. 13 minutes later, I received via email the assessor's determination on the 91 Deer Road property. To date, I have not received any determination on my residence. It is advisable this council obtain a copy of this voice recorded conversation from Accurate, as they state that all the conversations are recorded for quality assurance. It is emblematic, this situation is emblematic of due process gross failure. A full audit of Accurate Appraisal's internal process, I believe, is in order. As a reminder, these are the people you all hire to represent you. Finally, my First Amendment protected right to redress of grievance now stands as materially breached by the situation and by those involved. Any discussion? This is on the agenda.
I think we'll wait and discuss it when we get to the agenda item.
All right,
Are
well,
you still going to be here, Dave, or?
unfortunately, I got to roll.
Okay,
I got commitments I have to fulfill.
okay,
Thank you.
you bet, thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment?
Hello, my name is Robert Craig. I live on Voss Road in the city of Elkhorn. I live across the street from the Netashine Farm. Currently there is about, 100 head of cattle. He has plans to create a slaughterhouse in basically our front yard, along with the whole, in the neighborhood. The concern is that this slaughterhouse will dramatically increase traffic. We're going to have heavy trucks going down. He's not even going to have sewer. He's going to have septic tanks. So that means we're going to have septic trucks going in and out to pump all the chemicals, all the whatever else that they use in the meat packing industry. The odors, the runoff, the increased cow escapes. Living there, they escape pretty much once a month. He can't even control the cows, doesn't know how to build a fence. I don't know how he's going to even run this business or maintain environmental concerns. He is using taxpayers' money. He is not operating in a vacuum. He's getting grants. That gives me a chance then to at least voice my opinion. This isn't on his own accord. Like I said, it's grant money. And I understand that the city has done the ETZ, the extraterritorial zoning, and that the township has basically going to let it run its course. Voss Road doesn't have a shoulder. With the increased traffic, it's going to cost even Town of Sugar Creek taxpayers money, because they're going to have to do road improvements. So, the township can do what they want. However, I am grateful that the city has taken action. I hope they continue to take action to prevent the rezoning and use any kind of tools they have, be it an eminent domain or any other further ETZs. But the people in the neighborhood, my neighbors, we are not happy. We don't want it there. In this farm, this guy who has all this cattle, he has about 150 acres. I don't know why it has to be basically on top of a residential area where he could easily build further away from us and away from the homes. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Rachel Nicholson, and I also live in the same neighborhood that Rob lives in. And I just have concerns about how something like that would adversely affect everyone in our neighborhood. We have 95 single-family homes in the Hearthstone neighborhood. That's 95 families. And personally, our family, we like to open our windows when it's nice, enjoy breathing fresh air. I like the fact that I live in a neighborhood and I don't have to worry about big semis and big trucks driving through. We have lots of families with kids in our neighborhood. And if we have something like this come in, there's new concerns that come to our neighborhood about pollution, just kind of air quality. There's a lot of different chemicals and runoffs and things that happen with the slaughterhouse. I personally have had a negative experience with farm runoff and ended up with dysentery when I was 4. So I just don't want this to affect other things in our area. It doesn't affect just the Hearthstone neighborhood. Odors from slaughterhouses can travel up to like 3 or 4 miles. That would include all the businesses right there on Wisconsin Street. It's also going to include all the apartments, the Meadow Blossom apartments and the Market Street apartments. And it's even going to carry over to the Harvest Point neighborhood. And if it travels that far, it's going all the way basically to the high school. So you have a lot of people affected by that. And I would just ask you to keep doing what we can to promote a good quality of life for the people in that area, and to not just kind of let one person dictate or negatively impact that quality of life.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment?
Hi, my name's Stephen Hewlett. I live at 203 West Davenport Street, which is further away from Voss Road than the other residents who've spoken. We are all concerned, I think, about a slaughterhouse on our doorstep. As my neighbors have said, he is not planning to join with the sewer system because I think that would be unwise for the Wolcomette system. However, the septic that he's proposing, again, will lead to more traffic. Traffic on Voss Road during this summer with the detours for the work on 1267 has dramatically increased, as it has on Market Street and on County H. With no shoulder and indeed no sidewalk on Voss Road, I think there is a legitimate safety concern there for residents with small children, cyclists, and so on. I have former colleagues from a different job I did who are experts in wastewater treatment and so on for slaughterhouses, and I will hopefully bring more of that information for the council the next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Your final chance. We'll close public comment then and move on to the consent agenda. Do we want to keep these together? We want to divide them up?
I don't have a problem with keeping them together.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
I'm guessing we cannot do that.
If you have a consent agenda that has financial parameters, we always suggest a roll call vote for that. But of course, any member can ask for an item to be pulled out, and if your request is to pull out each of the financial items and handle them individually, you could certainly make that request as well.
Yeah, I would make a motion to do that, Tim.
Okay.
Second.
We've got a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
So why don't we pull out items A and B and get them, what's that,
You would keep A and B
together?
in the consent agenda.
Okay. Okay, we'll keep A and B in the consent agenda, and the C, D, and E will be pulled out of there. So let's start with A and B.
I'll make a motion to accept A and B.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A and B pass. Now, item C, we've got a payment application number 8 from Rock Road Companies for the 2023 East Centralia Street Reconstruction Project in the amount of $47,620.
I would make a motion to approve said amount.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion, any questions? Roll call, please.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item D is a payment application number 1 from Payne and Dolan for the Highway 67 bypass lane construction project in the amount of $75,433.28.
I'll make a motion to accept that, to pay that.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion, any questions? Roll call, please.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Ken Minell.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item E is a payment application number 3 from Wilcombe Excavating and Grading for the 2024 East Centralia Street Reconstruction Project in the amount of $233,953.61.
I move to approve that.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. Any discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, if there's no opposition, can we move item 8AI next on the agenda so that those folks don't have to wait?
Good point.
I'm sure they have better things to do than listen to water treatment plant discussions.
Oh, okay.
The mayor's report.
Yeah,
Okay.
8AI. Well, the whole report, if you want to just do it that way.
Any objection to that?
No.
Well, then we've got a swearing in of Elkhorn Area Fire Department personnel, Matthew Wittig, Cameron Cook, and Tanner Tenpus. If you could come forward, and the city attorney will swear you in. I think you can come stand right up here. Be fine.
Is it a Scribner's error that we have 2 people listed on the agenda, but we have 3 that we're swearing in?
They like to keep it a surprise some
Okay.
days.
I just want to make sure that wasn't going to cause an issue, so.
No,
Okay.
It's not a problem. You've given notice that you're swearing individuals in, so it's
Okay.
not a concern.
Good deal.
So good evening. So we're going to do the official oath. So if you'll raise your right hand. And then there's a couple blanks obviously in front of you. So when you get to the point you need to state your name, you should do so. And then also state your rank. So I'll let you state that. And of course, you'll say it all together. And hopefully individuals that are listening in the audience will be able to hear your voice and pick that out. So you're in the state of Wisconsin in Walworth County in the city of Elkhorn. So I state your name.
I, Matthew Wittig,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and state of Wisconsin.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the state of Wisconsin.
I will support those who I serve with
I will support those who I serve with
and those who I am sworn to protect.
and those who I am sworn to protect.
I will faithfully and impartially, without reservation,
I will faithfully and impartially, without reservation,
discharge my duties as, and state your rank,
discharge my duties as a firefighter AT
of the Elkhorn Area Fire Department
of the Elkhorn Area Fire Department
under the appointing of the department
under the appointing of the department
and according to the laws of the state of Wisconsin to the best of my skills and abilities.
and according to the laws of the state of Wisconsin to the best of my skills and abilities.
I accept this self-imposed and self-enforced obligation
I accept the self-imposed and self-enforced obligation
as my responsibility and make these promises freely
as my responsibility and make these promises freely
without mental reservations or purposes of evasion,
without mental reservations or purposes of evasion,
and I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of my office
and I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office
upon which I'm about to enter, so help me God.
upon which I am about to enter, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Anything else in your report?
Nothing else in the mayor's report. But now we can get back to Item 6, Dale Breckert from Fourth Infrastructure and Environment.
Perfect.
All right, well, thanks for having me back. Good evening. I'm Dale Breckert with Fourth Infrastructure. Fourth does all of the drinking water engineering consulting services for the utility here. Been doing that for a few years now, so really getting to know the system and appreciate everything you guys have been investing here. Tim's up here with me to speak about some of the operational things that'll come up tonight, but we're gonna just tag team conversation and answer questions together if any come up too, so. All right, so the agenda tonight, just really running through some current project updates. You've got quite a bit going on right now, and I'm going to touch on all of those quickly. Some you probably know about, another one I don't think you know about quite yet, so we'll get you up to speed on that. Another update then on well 4, well 6, and Centralia, and the evaluation we've done there on water quality. And then a quick look ahead into 2025. So the Northeast Water Treatment Plant Utility Extension Project. This started April 22nd. Rock Roads is doing the work out there. And just some photos are flashing up just for your information. There's sewer going in, and there's 2 different forms of water main. One is treated water, and one is future raw water main, they call it, for the future siting of well 10 out there. So the contractor had a nice start to the project. However, they had the ability within their contract, within the time frame given, to come and go as they please. They did decide to demobilize and go to a different site for a while to get caught up on another project. They're actually back today, so they were gone for quite a bit. But report from the field inspector today, they had installed 300 feet of sanitary, so they're back on track. And some stats here on what they've installed: 1,400 feet of sanitary is already in the ground. They have not started the treated water main yet, but they had put in about 800 feet of the raw water main. So, any questions on that project right now?
How deep does a water main, is a water main planted in the earth?
Yeah, so Wisconsin DNR, based on just freezing, when the ground freezes, there's a frost depth. So they set a minimum depth around 6.5 feet, 6.5 feet.
That's typically where all this is laying now, right?
Yep, that's your minimum. You try to, for cost purposes, you try to keep it shallow as you can. But
Sure. Okay.
yeah, sometimes under roadways where you have a lot of frost packing in deeper, you may choose to insulate that pipe or put it a little bit deeper in that tube. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Next project is the Lakeland Water Treatment Plant improvement. So this one has been designed. It has been approved by DNR, approved by funding, and it actually received a CDS grant. I can wait a second here. Okay. Anyway, so that project, just giving you a quick update on it, and really a reminder what it is. I bullet pointed out a lot of things going on, but dozens of building repairs. This building was fairly uncared for a while, just leading to housekeeping items with the roof and some leaks and insulation, windows, doors, things of that nature. There's a obsolete control system right now running that plant, which just means that the electrical components, kind of the brains behind it, they don't make them anymore. You can't replace them easily. So those will be replaced with modern controls. The treatment equipment has certain media, whether it's a sand type media or a resin bead. That's all being replaced. Those vessels are being rehabbed as part of this project, which is definitely time for that. There's aged process valves and controls all being replaced. Yeah, and those are critical in a plant like this because you pretty much have one flow stream of treated water. If you have one valve or one valve actuator break, it takes the whole plant offline until that's fixed. So it's very good to keep those up to date and in good condition. And then, as you can see in the graphic, the lower graphic, there's a small building addition going on. And that's going to house what they call HMO feed system. It's an acronym for a very long chemistry word, but basically it's a chemical that's injected ahead of these filters, and it helps remove radium super efficiently. So we're adding another radium removal process here that's going to really increase production and optimize what this plant can do.
Can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Aeration is what we're taking out of this, right? We've got an out of date aeration system. Is that why, that's why we're looking at this, correct? Or that's part of what we're looking at?
No, not on this project. Aeration stays. We are rehabbing the existing aerator in this one, but the
Oh,
the
you're,
project I'm going to talk about
so you're
next.
putting the aerator back, the aerator's staying?
Yep.
Okay.
Aerator's being rehabbed and staying.
When you did the testing for the water, can I ask why you didn't get radon readings for the pre-aerator and the post-aerator tests that you ran?
Oh, actually, we aren't to that project yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's coming up
Maybe
next.
that's what, okay,
Yep.
I'm sorry.
No,
Thank you.
they're easily confused because similar terminology on these, but yeah, so this project is designed, we're doing final bid documents towards the end of this year, and then we're going to bid either end of year or early 2025.
Can I ask, so this HMO system is going to be putting more chemicals in the water, right? Is that what you just said?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Radon, aerating water has been very effective with the reduction of radon, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, so radon is a gas form, vapor, like gas. What this is removing is radium. So,
Oh, I'm
so
sorry.
It's
Thank you.
It's dissolved.
Different.
Similar,
it's a
but
different,
it's in the water.
well,
Yep.
it's a heavy metal, so.
So the only way to get it out is to inject something that it can bond with, and then it creates like a flock of more of a solid, and then
That's what the
filtered out.
filters pull.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions on the Lakeland project and that update? I guess, Adam, do you want to add anything on the CDS grant? Everyone's aware of that success?
Yeah, I mean, I guess all I'll just say is on the congressionally directed spending money, that's the $3.3 million we got from the feds. We've been working on verifying what is eligible and not eligible. So our treasurer in concert with Corey has been working on that side of it. So we're getting that under control. There's some expenses that might not be eligible because the engineering portion of it was incurred too far in advance of when we applied for that money, but it looks like we might be able to use that money for other water projects. So that's really what we've been working on as far as why this project has been temporarily put on hold while we get the funding side of it resolved. So.
Yeah. And hats off to the city for applying to that grant because that was complete surprise. That was really, really good news. Okay, moving on. So I think this might be new news to some of the folks here, but well 4, which you can see in that graphic, is one of your oldest wells in the system. Well 4 and well 6 are, downtown, near the downtown plant. Believe it or not, this actually got struck by lightning on July 17th, and it damaged a lot of major electrical components, pump, the motor. You can imagine when you're running a 150 horsepower motor and it gets hit by lightning, there's a lot of collateral damage there. So the good news is that insurance policy is covering the full replacement cost of that equipment. And through that replacement, the utility decided that it'd be a perfect opportunity to replace the aged column pipe. And that's the pipe that supports the pump and the motor that's about 600 feet down. So whenever you get a chance to pull one of these out on someone else's dime, you try to get everything taken care of that you can while it's out. So that was a decision that was very smart there. But the great news is quite a blessing in disguise, honestly. Following this work, well 4 will have all new major electrical and mechanical components. And it's going to be similar to the well 6 rehab that was done just not too long ago. So both wells feeding the downtown plant are basically in new condition at this point. So this was a little gift from above. So just want to get you updated on that. Any questions about that lightning strike or anything there? Okay. Okay, so, kind of a segue off of that well 4 rebuild that's happening next week, I believe they're coming on
Monday.
site, Monday. So back in November of '23, council authorized Fulth to undergo an investigation and sampling effort out at this Centralia site. And, specifically targeting well 6 because there was, evidence from past testing that was, kind of partial testing in the past that it might have some of the best water in the city, along with well 4 being right there. So also, as part of that investigation, we were looking at what I think everybody here in the room is aware of, the high-risk reservoir that has a lot of structural issues going on right now. And we're trying to understand what that was really doing for the treatment train, we call it, the treatment process. What does the water quality look like before that? What does it look like after it? Does it need to be there? So we're trying to gather data in order to have discussions and help make good decisions about this site moving forward. So we verified a lot of the wells' water quality. Over 100 parameters were looked at. We did testing, and I'll get into the testing sites here in a minute, testing several locations. Also, where I'm going with this is we're a bit revisiting prior decisions about Centralia being decommissioned permanently along with those wells. So that's kind of a little bit of the backstory to a lot of this investigative work. So we did work very closely with the Wisconsin DNR. They actually engaged wonderfully on this project. They looked at this site with us, looked at drawings, helped strategize the approach. And we took the samples later than we wanted because well 6 was having some mechanical and electrical issues that we had to work out, but we did get results back in early July. So that sampling plan, this is what we sat down with the DNR and noodled out all these different spots. So we had 5 different major locations. You can see the little numbers here. Raw water at well 4, raw water at well 6. Item 3 there, that's a sample tap that's right before the reservoir and the aerator that's mounted at the top of the reservoir. And then sample location 4 is in the treatment plant after the reservoir. And then EP 200 is your entry point. That's your actual water out to customers. So also through this process, we looked at some historical records with the DNR. And really the backstory on that was there were some rumors floating around well 4 in particular that it may have been flagged as too close to some old dump sites from a long, long time ago or, old industry. And that raises everybody's attention, right? So we had them dig into that with us, and we did identify those sites that were being referred to. They were watches within a very large radius of well 4. But the DNR confirmed that they have no reason to get any negative clouds around well 4. As long as the water quality is meeting all standards, there'd be no reason to ever abandon that. And they would never enforce anything just because of a radius of influence. So that was great news about well 4. So we have debunked any rumors that you may have heard about well 4 needing to be abandoned. Okay?
Thank you.
Yep. So let's talk about sample results. And Kurt, this is what we were talking about, probably what you saw on the agenda. So the raw water quality on 4 and 6 are very, very good. Okay, very good is conservative. It's the best water you have in your system, by far. Well 4 is actually better than 6, slightly. They're both excellent. And those little indicators that you'd watch for from a old dump site or a landfill or any of those things of that nature, 0 indicators in well 4 of any of that, all non-detect on 100 parameters. So what's really surprising and finally understood about the Centralia plant is the water quality is so good going in, it's basically polishing. There's a little bit of elevated iron, very normal in Wisconsin. It's actually under the secondary MCL as it comes out of the ground, but the Centralia plant's polishing that down to non-detect iron. Easy to remove. And then there's a very small amount of radium compared to your other wells. And it's, again, the softeners are polishing that off to a level that's about 80% lower than allowed. Arsenic, right? Big deal out at Northeast plant. Natural arsenic levels are 85% below the MCL out of the ground. So these are, I'm not kidding, these are excellent.
The MCL,
Maximum contaminant limit. So
SMCL?
secondary. So if
You've got
there's
two levels of numbers.
Yep. So if there's an S in front of it and it's secondary, it means it's not a regulated, treatable contaminant, like iron, for example. It's more of a nuisance. It's a color, an odor.
Okay.
Right. So they don't make you treat for it, but the customers don't like it. So they give you a secondary limit to target.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, Tim, I mean, we're both very surprised. I mean, we knew it was good out there just from prior limited results, but when you see this full spectrum testing that was done, it completely verified that these wells are very rare for your system. Even in southeast Wisconsin in general, there's a little special place down there by the Centralia plant. So what else did we determine? That the reservoir and the aerator that are, failing structurally right now, they did have one notable secondary benefit, I'll call it, which was carbon dioxide. So similar to a can of soda, there's natural carbon dioxide in the ground. So not regulated, it's not even on the secondary MCL list, but it's something that we look at because it affects pH. And if you have a pH in your water that's not quite around 7, you can start triggering some more corrosion you want in your system piping and such. So that's the one thing that we saw that the existing reservoir and aerator were providing was it was letting a little bit of carbon dioxide go off into the atmosphere. But very limited amount and nothing to really even talk much about, honestly. I guess before I go on, do we want any questions about the
Well,
sampling that was done?
my question, I guess, so the aerator's not working at its proper, it's not working properly?
No, there's just not much for it to do. It probably doesn't need to be there.
Will that water have to be treated for radon? Or-
No. Nope. Radon, so radon in Wisconsin, anywhere in the Midwest, it's in all the groundwater for the most part. So there's a certain level where it's about 200 is very normal. And so there's nothing abnormal here with radon.
Oh, and then the other question, with the aeration or aerator, does it affect anything else but radon? Normally when you aerate the water, you're doing that so you don't have to put chemicals in to balance out the radon. Is there any other chemicals that are on this list here that benefit from aeration? What I'm talking about, no chemicals, run it through, put some air in it.
Yep, so traditionally you would put an aerator in if you had very high iron and you were trying to oxidize some of the iron without using a chemical. So air will oxidize iron and then you can filter it out. In your case with wells 4 and well 6, the natural iron levels are already below.
Quite low.
So
Gotcha.
the reason it was there, maybe 50, 60 years ago, the iron was a bit higher and they were getting some benefit from that. But now, you technically don't even need to treat for it.
So then every other chemical listed on this report there's no benefit to any of these through aeration?
The only thing is the carbon dioxide because it's slightly.
Okay, so we're not missing any. I just want to make sure I'm not,
Yep.
because I'd rather not put chemicals in.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
So based on this very good news about the water quality out there and the sampling plan we worked out with the DNR, in the follow-up meetings we have with the DNR, everybody that has been involved in this is very comfortable with this reservoir being taken out of the equation and the aerator that's mounted on the top of it. It is not adding any benefit, and it's just a risk because it has structural issues. I'm actually surprised it's still standing. So this is a little graphic basically saying if we took this out and we bypassed the reservoir, here's the aerial view. This is the recommendation. I think it's my mouse showing up. Yep. So basically a bypass pipe would be installed around the reservoir here, directly sending well 4 and well 6 water through the chlorine building as it goes now, and then into the treatment train within the treatment plant. And then inside the plant itself, there would be some modifications to some of the existing suction piping for these booster pumps. The booster pumps would be removed because we'd just be now using the wells themselves to push the water through the plant, not having to repump it. So there's some efficiencies there with electrical use too. So these graphics are busy, but basically it's showing that the pumps come out and a simple one shot of piping can go up, and that's what would be the replacement for those pumps. There'd be some controls and programming updates just to, let the system know that now the water tower is controlling the wells rather than the reservoir controlling the wells, and a lot of minute details like that. But this is a extremely viable option to take this failing reservoir completely out of the equation with having no treatment implications on it. So this is pretty much best case scenario. So what we're asking for tonight is to proceed with the next step. We did this initial evaluation, what I just reported on, but now we need to take this formally to the DNR with some plans, technical specifications, hydraulic calculations, chemical feed calcs. It's basically called a DNR plan review package. It's a pretty substantial document. It gets sent in, DNR reviews it. Nice thing is they've already been made aware of this project. They've already partnered with the discussions on the sampling plan. So I don't expect much resistance from that group. But the ask here tonight is that we have authorization to proceed with the DNR submittal and approval package for the bypass, which the outcome from this would be that well 4 and well 6, both being freshly rehabbed and probably, knock on wood, not needing to be touched again for 10 to 15 years, in combination with the unexpected excellent water quality, keeps Centralia online moving forward rather than decommissioning.
Great news. Really?
In my opinion, this is absolutely best case scenario for the city. We haven't had things line up like this in a long time. So I don't know if we need to pause here and go around the room with any questions or comments or authorization to proceed. Adam, do you want to add anything?
Hey Dale, can you real briefly just talk about the urgency for this project and the concern about if the reservoir fails?
Yeah. So the risk with this reservoir, and we've talked about this before. This was a few years ago when internal inspection, some of you remember the pictures, there's some failing structural beams that have actually fallen from the roof and dropped down into the bottom of this reservoir, leaving the roof probably barely supported at this point because those pictures were from a few years back. So the risk here is that, one, this roof can fall in at any time and immediately shutting the plant down from production because all of the water has to flow through. Worst case type of failure besides the roof falling in could be the side wall of the tank itself breaching.
Blown out.
If you can imagine like something in a Hollywood movie where a big tidal wave, 500,000 gallons,
Down the street.
goes somewhere, right? And if there's people in the immediate area or just there's buildings there, there's a business there. So that's a risk. The other thing that is really new is the fact that next week you're getting all new electrical equipment in well 4. which is about, what, 50 to 70 feet or so from this reservoir. So if beyond just the risk we already talked about this tidal wave of water hitting something, now you have, over $100,000 of electrical equipment that's gonna get hit and
the
probably
reservoir building too.
yeah, the
Both
chlorine
buildings.
building, yeah.
Both buildings.
So we do feel that there's plenty of risk here to speed this up as much as possible. And, we've been quite lucky, knock on wood again, that nothing has happened actually in the last few years, in my opinion. That, so any way to speed this up, I think is beneficial just from a reduction of risk.
So with the bypass and the aerator, that would be done before the disassembly of the reservoir?
So the bypass work that I showed, if I go back to that picture, the plan would be just to get this pipe in first and get everything operational, and then drain the reservoir so it wasn't a risk anymore, and then come up with a plan for how, there might be enough steel value that a contractor might come in and actually, salvage and get the money for the pounds of steel. We might be surprised that could be a pretty economical tear down at this point. Hard to say though, but the plan would be just leave it up, empty it, and then regroup once everything's back online.
How long would it take to put the bypass in? 10 days?
Well, the outside work that you see here would go really quick. The interior work is a bit more involved with the mechanical piping, so I would say probably 4 weeks would be safe for everything buttoned up and pressure tested.
I guess my point is, when the bypass goes in, if for some reason that the reservoir were to fail before you got it emptied, we'd have a way to keep the system online.
Yeah. So if this
it
were to
sounds
fail
pretty,
tomorrow,
it sounds pretty serious. I mean, it sounds
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 years ago should have been when we were really having this conversation.
Yeah, and we were. If this were to fail tomorrow, just playing that out. With the Lakeland plant operational as it is today and Northeast operational as it is, the city would be fine as long as those two plants are available and working and there's no issues at either one. If it failed tomorrow and concurrently you had an issue at either one of those plants, there would be a shortage.
That's another story.
There would be a shortage.
Unless we got emergency permission to put in spools temporarily where the pumps are now, and make the connection out by the reservoir to allow the wells to push in to the plant.
Yeah. And with the pre-work we did with the DNR, they would probably jump on that boat pretty quick, just knowing it's either that or we're telling residents that they have to stop using water or greatly reducing water use,
Sounds like you got a plan pretty well put together.
Yeah, it needs approval. I mean, the next step is the official approval and putting that whole thing in play. DNR can sit on these for a while to review. They have up to 90 days to review these, but the pre-work that's been done and the particular team involved on this at the DNR's end moves very quick from our experience. We just got
Yeah, you've had them on board since, it sounds like almost the beginning.
We did. That
Good
was
job.
on purpose. Yep. Thank you. Adam, I don't know if do you want to talk about the risks more? Okay. Continue? Okay. Okay, so looking ahead, what else is coming up? Following what the decision is here with the Centralia plant, well 4, well 6, we would want to do a update to your existing supply and storage study that was last done in 2022. That study assumed that Centralia was decommissioned. So all of the numbers, all of the graphs and charts in there assume that Centralia was already offline, moving forward. So now that we've had this good news regarding it should stay, that's going to greatly change the equation and what these studies say about where you're at currently with how much surplus you have. You're going to have a lot more surplus with Centralia in play. And the timing of that with the big developments going on, a lot more calls from industrial interest for big developments, big heavy water users. These conversations now could go a lot farther with Centralia still in the mix. So we want to get that study updated. We want to see the real numbers, and we also want to add a future projections section, which basically says, okay, with assumed growth rates, with assumed different types of residential and commercial development, what does the trajectory in the future look like? When will we need the next project after Centralia? When will we need the next water tower? You know, on and on. Basically, it identifies all of the future assets needed to keep up with an assumed growth rate. Part of that future projections is a base water model. So it's an actual computer program that your entire system, similar to your GIS system that Kapoor does right now. It looks very similar to that, but it actually is a fully modeled water system. Every pipe, valve, water tower, well, treatment plant is modeled, and you can run scenarios. New development goes in here, new industrial user goes in there, and you can set all these parameters and just run your system electronically and see how it reacts for pressures, fire flows, where's the best place to put the water tower. We can model that. So this is the next step for the city. Regroup on what your supply and storage assets are, and then do the future projections and see how long are we good for with these assumptions in place. And you're going to be in very good shape initially if Centralia stays as we're recommending.
With the software and forecasting, are we able to also forecast an approximate value cost for the changes, like you're saying? Like if we put in 150 homes, how much, you know, I mean, what's expected for the changes in the system, you know, so we've got an idea of what it's going to cost us to do this down the road. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
everything changes, but
Yeah. So the study here is really to get a document in place that solidifies, here's our assumed growth rates, here are the areas that we're targeting for growth, and then what are the first few assets that need to be added, such as water towers, additional wells. What you're referring to is more of a long-term master plan. That's another very common document for water systems and cities. So basically that is taking what this study says and putting alternative evaluations, you know, what's the least cost alternative to serve this new portion outside of an area that's already developed, right? We say we develop to the north, or we develop anywhere, right? That master plan evaluates alternatives and compares costs, total costs, you know, everything baked in, engineering, land acquisition, everything.
a full picture.
Full picture. So that's the next level, is the master planning. And
But this is
you have to do this
basic
first.
information that we need to have to be able to do that.
You have to do this first.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So that's the end of my presentation. That's the look ahead. And, you know, we can go back to any of those slides or more questions.
Will you be coming back to us for this study, for funding for the study, when you get closer to the time? Late, it
Yes.
said late 24,
Yes,
early
good-
25?
Good question, yep. We plugged a number in the capital improvement plan for it.
Okay.
And we have that slotted for either starting, you know, 2024, 2025, whatever works. We're ready to go whenever it lines up financially. But we are planning for it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, yep, thank you.
We've got bills payable in the amount of $4,901,073.09.
Make a motion to approve the pay to bills as stated.
Second. Motion and second. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Gary Pearson Jr.,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness.
Yes.
We've got a report of the city administrator.
My report will be very succinct. All right, apparently Alderman Payson has the magic touch there, but I attended the Walworth County Housing Task Force meeting last week, last Monday. We got a few more of those meetings left. Really, it seems like at this point that the recommendation is going to be that the county provide some sort of funding to, whether it's an in-house person or using WASITA to have a housing, sort of coordinator who's going to help, gather information and help distribute information through the county about housing. Just as a reminder, we got the HR council has the HR committee meeting next Monday at 6. So the HR committee, just a reminder on that. I think those are my updates.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Lacey, the city clerk.
I just have a quick update about the partisan primary election that was on August 13th. We had 1,875 total votes cast. 491 of those were by absentee ballot. So we had 1,384 voters in person that day. It was a great day. It was a long day. All our numbers look pretty close to 2018 and 2022. I leave that other year out because that was an anomaly. We're already preparing for November. So if you're not aware, there's an election coming in November. And all of our work has started already. If you vote by absentee, you will be receiving your ballot in the mail, if that's the way you get it, sometime mid-September, probably around the 21st, because clerks are required to have them mailed by September 19th. That's my update.
Okay, thank you, Lacey. We've got reports of city boards and community partners. Fire advisory.
I didn't have enough last time to even have a quorum, so meeting was canceled.
Okay. Library.
Good evening. Just wanted to report that the library completed their adult summer reading program at the end of July and recorded 3,026 books read by our way of figuring, which is about 472 more than 2023. So we're very excited about that. Our children's and our teen summer programs will conclude on Saturday, August 24th. We also had great attendance at our culminating event for our adult summer reading program, our wine and book pairings at Stoller Estate Winery, which was sponsored by the Friends of the Matheson Memorial Library. So a big thanks to Stoller Estate and the Friends for making this a pretty cherished annual tradition we have in the summer at the library. Thank you.
Thanks, Chad. Rec advisory.
Yes, our next meeting is September 18th at 5:30 p.m. here at City Hall.
Great, thanks, Gary. Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening. Just wanted to do a quick update. Since last time we reported, in the end of July, the 27th, the Elkhorn Chamber held its annual Truck and Shuck, which for some of you would know it as Festival of Summer. It's changed names a little bit. Due to getting volunteers to cook everything is always a challenge, but we successfully roasted over 100 dozen ears of corn and put them out in the community. We had 70 different vendors, and we're very excited. That is a very tough weekend with the different fairs going on. Just a lot goes on that weekend, but we were happy and the vendors were happy with the traffic that they received. Then the first weekend in August was the first Neon Nights at the Walworth County Fairground with a great country lineup. I spoke with Larry to verify attendance, and they are calculating about 3,500 people per night at that, which included camping on grounds, hotel reservations, and I know our restaurants, we heard it from all of our restaurants, they were extremely busy. Uber was even busy taking residents or campers from, we had one Uber driver that sent us, "Thank you, you made me a ton of money this weekend." He must have, a group found him and found him very fun and had a minivan that could fill them, and he took them to Stoller during the day. The guys went golfing, the women went to shopping around the area, so he was very excited. I think he was on standby for them all weekend. So that is great to hear, and it is coming back, and we're looking forward to seeing what the lineup will be. And from my understanding, Chief Christensen, it was a pretty uneventful weekend. So that's what we always like to hear. It was definitely the first time. We were all hoping to have this, 10,000 people, but to start a first-time event, the crowds were very gracious, and they were not afraid to spend money. I can tell you that right now. So that is wonderful for our community. Also, coming right around the corner, as all of you know, is the 175th annual, 175th annual Walworth County Fair. It starts next Wednesday, the 25th, through the September 2nd. I know Larry said he had sent you an invite, but I have paper invites to send to everybody because he would love to have everyone join at the opening ceremony at 10 a.m. on Wednesday at Peggy's Park Stage. So I have these for everyone. No attendance, you don't have to respond or anything, but he'd love to have the Elkhorn community and council and the mayor in attendance for 175 years. He was unable to join tonight, so I have those for you. And then almost 1 month from today, the Elkhorn Chamber will be celebrating its 50th anniversary as a Chamber of Commerce. It will also include a park dedication for the front part of the park. If you've gone by recently, there's a lot of things going on. So we will have a park dedication, which will also include the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, which will have Missy Hughes, the state director, will be in attendance, and along with some representatives from AARP. Thank you, Katie James, for that grant. That will be providing a lot of the seating and tables that we received. And then shortly after that, 1 month later, again on October 19th, will be our Oktoberfest. So we are busy and doing things, and we also have a booth at the Walworth County Fair in North Hall, which we promote tourism for all of the different chambers and Walworth County as a whole. So if you'd like to come join us, or if you have any questions, let me know. You'll see me around. So, Lacey, I'm just going to leave these with you. Is that all right? Tim, any questions?
Nope, thanks, Chris.
Okay, thanks.
We've got our community grant writer.
Hi, everybody. I'm Katie James, the community grant writer. You've heard my name a couple of times tonight. I'm just rounding out my second full year as the grant writer for the Elkhorn community, so I wanted to give you some stats, how this year went for me. I submitted 24 grants this year. That's actually 5 fewer than last year, and about $7.8 million less. As Adam knows, last year I was really throwing darts at the wall, just seeing what would stick and seeing what worked for our community. Another year wiser, and I'm using my time more effectively to figure out where those best opportunities are. Of the 24, that was $9.9 million in requests. I lost 9. Adam had to peel me off the ceiling for each one of those, but we ended up winning 11, which is really admirable for our community. It's really hard for me to gauge what dollar amount that represents because you all know that I sometimes hear 6, 7, 8 months after I've written them, so it goes into last year's count, but overall I brought in about $5.1 million for the Elkhorn community. Oh.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Overall, my total prize is at $6.1 million. Other thing I wanted to mention to you was the success of the Elkhorn Community Wish List. That was the little wish book that I created based on the grants that we weren't able to be awarded last year. I'm proud to say that we got about half the projects in that booklet funded, so I'm planning on redoing it again this year. If you have a project that you're interested in me pursuing for the wish list booklet to talk to our Elkhorn community about, please let me know. The last thing I wanted to mention to you is the workload balance. Because I have 3 different bosses, the city, the Elkhorn Area School District, and the Elkhorn Chamber of Commerce, the first year, because I had the greatest familiarity with it, About 70% of my workload was actually the school district. The need there, coupled with I actually understood the language that they were talking about. No offense, Tim, with the water department stuff or the roads, Matt. But I really gained a stronger comfort level in my second year with the staff here, as well as with the information with the fire department. So now my workload is 58% City of Elkhorn, 40% school district, and 1.2% chamber, because I always win those. So keep an eye out this fall for the new wish list booklet. Again, let me know if there's something you'd like in there. And as always, if you get any information or see anything about grants, please send it my way, because that's the best way for me to find out about things that are happening in the community and funding that's out there. So thanks.
Thank you, Katie. Moving on to unfinished business with the council's consent, I'd like to move item A down to new business, item C. They're related items, and we can deal with them best together, I think. Any objections to that?
No objection.
Then we'll move on to item B, discussion and possible decision regarding pay application number 2 from Rock Road Companies for the 2024 Northeast Water Treatment Plant Sewer and Water Extension Project in the amount of $564,827.92.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness,
Yes.
Peter Harvey.
Yes.
Motion carried.
We've got discussion and possible decision regarding change order number 2 for the 2024 Northeast Water Treatment Plant Sewer and Water Extension Project in the amount of $29,121.01.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Scott McClory.
Yep.
We've got a discussion and possible reconsideration of our decision regarding the November council meeting schedule.
I would make a motion to reconsider. Second.
Got a motion to reconsider in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Why don't we have Lacey explain this?
Well, Alderman Dunmuddy came to me the night of the election because he was working with us, and he asked if I would be interested in him bringing back to you guys about moving it in November, mainly because he is aware of how much work or more work a November election will be. So I said I would be fine with that. I would actually appreciate it. And then Adam and I chatted a little bit about the difficulties with the weeks in November and how to best move forward. If it would be okay with any of you, we were actually looking at moving the meetings to the 2nd and 4th Mondays instead of the Wednesday after the election and keeping the 3rd. So we would move both if you're okay. So it would be November 11th and 25th. Yes, the week of the 25th is also Thanksgiving, but that happens almost every other year. I already know I will not be in attendance for that meeting, but I have a deputy
I
clerk.
will not either.
So if we have a quorum,
I don't know if I'm gonna be here.
So I guess we'd be
I
going
guess
from
now we're talking about just having one meeting in November and the second Monday.
well, yeah.
or you
we're
could keep
going
it on the
s-
18th.
Yeah, this,
The second Monday, right?
It's the third Monday.
Oh, the third Monday.
I got the calendar up on this. Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking at my phone, I'm sorry. So
You
you,
did the
so,
11th
so
and
do you want to,
18th?
you want to handle them separately? You want to first get rid of the 6th and then a separate motion for a new date, or you want to handle them together?
are we assuming we won't have a quorum for the 25th? If we
It's
moved them to the
questionable.
11th?
Doesn't
and
look
25th?
good.
I won't be here.
Lacey won't be here, I won't be here.
Well, Rebecca will be here in my place, so,
I don't know that I'm gonna be here.
okay.
I'm not a hunter. What's the week where you guys all go hunting? Is that week?
Yep.
Okay. I figured that was why nobody was going to be here,
Uh-huh.
so.
Does it make sense to have a meeting on the 11th and 18th then, 1 week?
Do we need to
apart?
have 2 meetings? Can we just have one meeting in the month of November? Is that going to be like
earth-shattering if we don't have 2 meetings.
I think one meeting is fine, but I'm not the one that sends you guys all these items to list on this very lengthy agenda. So that would be up to other department heads to decide.
What do you think, Adam?
Here's the thing, the challenge is that obviously we'll be in the height of budget season at that point in terms of, so it's just, honestly, it's impossible for me to predict what's gonna happen. Can we work around it? Yeah, we'll work around whatever you guys wanna do, so it's one of those things that, it's nice to have multiple meetings at the same time, understandably. There's not a great option because of having the meeting on the 6th and then having a meeting on, the 18th. It's not the worst option, but there's not a ton of time between, we'd have the council meeting on the 6th that night, and then already, we'll be sending out another council packet like a week later, so, I don't know, that's.
Well, is the staff preference that we completely get rid of meeting at all the week of the 6th?
My preference is getting rid of that meeting and only having it on November 18th. There are other department heads here who might want to have an opinion as well, but they also might not want to speak.
Well, couldn't we just do the meeting on the 18th, and at that point, depending on the amount of business, if we've got to pull something from, oh no,
That won't work if you're gonna try to do it on the.
It'd have to be the
Okay, let's do
11th.
this. Let's do the 11th for sure. We'll
Yeah.
cut the 6th out, and if we have to, we'll do the 18th.
Yeah, 'cause
Second,
we'd have, if we
that'll
have
be,
any
that'll be
over-
everybody,
hangover
will that
from
work
the
for everyone?
11th.
Yeah, that's fine.
We're not trying to.
So is that your motion?
Sure.
I'll second.
Let me get rid of the
We've got
6th.
a motion and a second to have the meetings on the 11th and the 18th.
No, the motion is to have the meeting definitely on the 11th, but only on the 18th if we need it.
Optional on the
Yeah.
18th.
Yeah, that's second that too. Yeah.
All right, any discussion?
The only other thing I would ask is because this is gonna be we're all assuming it's gonna be a very large agenda. If there's any way of getting some of the information earlier than Friday, that even if we just had one extra day, depending on the load, the size of the agenda, I'm asking if we could throw it out there. That way we've got some more time to look at it, because we'd have more items on,
I'm just gonna go ahead and put the 18th down, and I can always take it off.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Enjoy your day off. Or your day recovery, or whatever you staff people call it the day after the election.
Still a work day.
Yeah.
All right, we've got
half an hour or
discussion
something.
and possible reconsideration of the CSM for parcels owned by Creekside Community Development on the east side of South Lincoln Street. Who's got that one?
I think Elaine's got this one.
Can I ask what the changes? I
She's
wasn't.
going to, and she's gonna tell us right now.
You gotta have her
Oh,
mic.
perfect.
Turn your mic on.
Well, I can't speak to the technical pieces. It's my understanding that there were a couple of, Scrivener error related to the revision date on the certified survey map, and then a couple other technical changes. So the map that you did approve is not the final map. So we would ask that you reopen this for reconsideration, and then you could either table it, waiting for receipt of the final version of the certified survey map to come back, and then we can put that back on a future agenda. Or you could approve the certified survey map, subject to the technical review by your city engineer and/or your city zoning administrator.
And just for sort of additional information, there's actually 2 issues with this. One, the planning and zoning department, when they forwarded the CSM to put in the council packet at the last meeting, actually sent the original CSM and not the actual amended CSM. So unfortunately, the CSM that was actually in the council packet was the wrong CSM. And looking at that, we then discovered that there were technical problems with what had been submitted that still needed to be updated. Hence, that's why it is back on here to potentially have you guys just reconsider, deny what was submitted in there, and we can come back once they get it cleaned up.
Do you want to do a denial? Because that would, they'd have to restart the whole process. So it'd be a table it to receive the final CSM again, or approve it subject to the technical review by your city engineer and city zoning administrator.
I would
What's the
prefer
difference?
the latter option.
Okay. And that would then finalize it unless there's some substantive reason they needed to bring it back to you.
All right, so we need a motion to reconsider?
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve on your second statement, if you could repeat that, please?
So it would be to approve the certified survey map, subject to the technical review and approval by your city engineer and your city zoning administrator.
That is my motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business, we've got a discussion and possible decision regarding proposed agreement with Fourth Infrastructure and Environment to provide engineering design services for construction of bypass of reservoir and aerator at the Centralia Water Treatment Plant. Obviously, this is what was just discussed.
I'd like to make a motion to approve. I'll second.
We've got a motion and a second. Do we need the dollar amount on this? Somebody have that?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it here. If you know where it's at, let me know, but. There it is right there. Estimated cost of 49,000 to 54,000, so it's a range.
Yep, that's my motion.
I'll amend my second.
Hey, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Wait a minute.
Yeah, yeah, I'm glad Elaine brought that up. So just as the proposal that's on the agenda for tonight would be for the FOAT to do the design work and to oversee obtaining quotes to do the construction work. That's based upon the city utilizing a public emergency exception to the normal competitive bid law. We usually typically always follow the competitive bid requirements, but in this particular case, the engineer has recommended, for the reasons you heard tonight, that we are concerned about delaying this at all, want to get moving. So, so the quote on the agenda tonight would be to go the quote route. However, before we could, the council would still have to formally declare a public emergency, so we'd have to come back with a resolution, and you'd actually have to vote on that. So I just want to let you be aware that if you decide to ultimately you don't want to go that route, then this contract would probably be amended because there would be an additional cost because we're getting a cheaper rate because of using the quote route rather than doing the, sending out bids and getting, doing the normal bid process. So.
Understand. That's part of my motion, yes.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yep.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness.
Yes.
Motion passes. We've got discussion and possible decision regarding task order number 26 for Kapoor and Associates to prepare boundary, topo survey, and wetland delineation and report for city property with tax key YUNW00254.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? My question would be where funding for this is coming from. Yeah.
I didn't,
I was hoping you had an answer.
Sorry, I thought that was a question for the council. There's two options. We have extra money from the note, which I put in my council memo about how we're anticipating using the bulk of the extra, bonding money, note money, for 2025 projects to reduce what we'd have to borrow in 25, but this could help cover that amount. Alternatively, the park fund actually still has about $100,000 in the park fund, although we did allocate, or I should say the council allocated 20,000 of that to do the historical analysis of the band shell. So that 100,000, we have to keep in mind 20 of it is reserved for that project. So question for the council is whether you'd like to use 20 from the park fund or whether you want to use the note money. Those are the two options.
I guess not that I have a vote, but I'd prefer to use the note
I'd rather use the
money
note as well.
and not, run down the park fund.
So I amend my motion to use the note money.
Who seconded it?
I amend my second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Scott McClory.
Yes.
A motion passes. Now we're down to item C, which is a discussion of possible decision regarding amended offer from the 700 County H Properties LLC for the purchase of city property, and that also relates up to item A at the top of the page. And I guess.
Yeah, just real quickly. So after the council, you guys accepted the offer from 700. After that, when they did the title search, they found out that there was an access agreement or I should say that there was a access easement that was to the benefit of the neighboring parcel, which we were sort of aware of that. There was some mixed communication from the title company as to whether or not that was there, but they verified that there was that easement. So the prospective owner, the 700 County H Properties, has wanted to amend their offer to require the city to get rid of that easement in order to close on the property. They also wanted more time to get through the zoning process to merge the two parcels. It was the council's requirement as part of that sale that they would have to merge the two properties. So they just want more time to do that because they think it's not something they can get done in 2 weeks. So they've requested that the deadline for closing be extended till, I think, December. So our response to them when they said that they wanted the council or wanted the city to remove that access easement, I responded by saying, well, would they amend their offer price? Because obviously there's going to be legal work involved to do that. So they agreed to increase their offer by $1,500, which we think is a fair offer. That would be for at least 5 hours of legal work, maybe slightly more, depending on what additional filing costs there are. So we thought that was a reasonable.
So the 1,500 more is going to cover everything, you believe?
Yes, so it appears to us that the access easement is really an unnecessary easement and doesn't really serve the purpose for which it was originally put into place. So hopefully we could work with the easement holder to get that released, and assuming that everybody's in agreement, it would definitely cover those costs. If they're not in agreement, there might be a different course of action that we would have to take to try to extinguish the easement, and that would require an action in court. Hopefully, we don't have to go down that route because you want to look at what the original purpose was, and if it's not there any longer, it makes sense to release it. So we'll work towards that, and certainly this amended an amended counteroffer sets the stage for this.
Okay.
So we would certainly recommend approval. It's consistent with wanting to sell the property. And then the next item that is then on your agenda is the resolution. And so what we would recommend related to the resolution is that you approve it addressing the sale, but subject to incorporation of reference to this amended counteroffer, or amendment to offer to purchase, rather.
Can I ask what the easement was for? You said it was out of date.
It was an access point, but it's our information that that access point probably wouldn't be allowed at this point at that particular location anyway.
Access for?
Highway access.
So there's the property just, I think it's northwest of our property, has a easement over our property to access their property. But in order to do that, they would have to cross actually delineated wetlands. So that's why we don't really think that they're ever going to want to use that, because they'd have to cross a wetland area.
Gotcha.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the amended offer. Is that where we're at?
The amendment to offer to purchase,
There you
yes.
go. That's my motion.
Second. Motion a second. Any discussion? Is that a roll call?
Is that, hold on, I do have a question.
Sure.
This property, my understanding is it was never put up for public sale. Is that correct, Adam?
That is correct, yes.
Are there any other pieces of property in the city like this that we're not aware, the council's not aware of, that may not be up for sale?
Well, technically, there are lots of city-owned properties in the city that aren't actively up for sale because we have, stormwater infrastructure, the wetlands areas, there may be,
I just want to
So-
make sure all the properties that we have for sale are available to all the public that want to be able to see it. In this case, that was not the situation.
the city will accept, anybody from the community or from anywhere, quite frankly, can submit an offer to the council to purchase a piece of city property, which is what happened here.
I'm
So-
just asking if it's available. I mean, does our real estate person have every piece of property that we have available for sale, listed for sale to the public?
There's, the city has certain properties that are currently actively listed, like in the business park, and there's the parcel along I-43, which we have a contracted offer on.
Right.
But our real estate broker isn't actively trying to sell every piece of city property. It just so happened that there was a piece of city property in this case, which is obviously, it's a small piece of property that somebody was interested in buying and made an offer to the city. And the council
Do
made
we have
that
a listing
decision.
of those other you've got a list of those other properties?
I'm saying somebody made an offer on a piece of city property that wasn't being actively listed by the city, but anybody in the community could make an offer to the council to consider.
I understand that. And I'm asking if there are are there any other pieces of property that have been that are like this, that aren't listed with our real estate person? I understand everything's for sale. I understand that anybody in the city can offer us money for property. I get that. My question is that the public knows about it.
If the public were to call the broker and say, I want to see a list of every piece of property that the city currently owns, I'm assuming he's got that.
It's actually all publicly available on the Walworth County Treasurer's website if you just look up City of Elkhorn.
Okay, that's what I would.
They are not all listed though, because a lot of them are parks or just pieces of property, like Adam was saying, that has different infrastructure on it. So,
You could actually look under the county GIS system, and if you look up the owner and you type in the city of Elkhorn,
Right.
every single city property will pop up.
Okay,
So-
that's all I'm asking. Because then this piece of property was actually available for sale to the public then. It was listed on the system as owned by the city of Elkhorn. So my point is, we did it where the public it was available, that anybody could have bought this piece of property. And there was a place that it was listed. That's all I'm at. That's all I wanted to confirm, guys. Thank you.
Thanks. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Gary Pearson Jr.,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. And now Elaine's gonna,
Okay, with respect to the resolution, which is, I believe, 10A, that was moved to below this particular item, is a resolution affirming the sale of city property designated by tax parcel ID number YVSE 00003D1 to 700 County H Properties, LLC. Consistent with just the action that you took, it would be recommended that you approve this resolution, subject to inclusion of reference to the approved amendment to offer to purchase that you approved just now. And then that would be the action. So then we would revise this resolution to reflect that additional amendment before it's signed.
That'd be my motion for 24-24, with what Elaine said.
That'd be my second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
We've got discussion and possible decision regarding proposed contract with Wisconsin Building Inspections to provide building inspection services.
And I can just say as a FYI, we do have representatives here from WBI sitting there in the back, got Vince Budiak and his colleague, so if you have questions for them, they can answer.
Well, the question I had was more to the I guess a contract question about it. If we're hiring these folks as a third-party vendor to do our zoning, correct? Adam?
Inspections.
Or yeah, zoning inspections, right?
Building
It's
inspections.
building
Or I'm sorry, building inspections. If for some reason there was an item that went to court and there were fines levied, the thing I couldn't find was who paid for them. I understand that, you know, the company will have to produce their own defense and pay for whatever they need to. The question is, if fines are levied, is the city paying for the third party's actions, or are they paying for their actions? If that's what, just as, I guess, hypothetically. It was the only thing I couldn't find in the contract. Who paid the fines?
There is an indemnification provisions under the agreement, so it's, if
takes
there
care of
was, if there was something that resulted from the action or inaction of the building inspector, and as our contractor, if there were fines levied against the city, the position would be that via the indemnification provision, that
Okay.
the contractor would be responsible for those. And I think a question came in terms of public records compliance. Similarly, they are the city's contractor, and there's certain obligations under the public records laws related to the records that if we get a request in and we need the contractor to turn over certain records, and if they don't cooperate with us and we don't receive them in a timely way, and we get penalized for that, there are indemnification provisions under the contract for that.
I just wanted to, thank you.
Yeah, hopefully that won't be the case.
No,
But-
it's, you know, it's
Those
always
are-
that piece of the
Yeah.
contract nobody wants to talk about,
Right.
you know,
Right.
the discipline of
Mhm.
enforcing it, so. No, it sounds pretty straightforward then.
So is that your motion? You approving it?
The third-party vendor, yeah, I'll approve them to,
Move to approve the contract
contract,
as presented.
yes.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just one question. All right, there you go. Just one thing for council's consideration. When the council issued the RFP for building inspection services, the proposal or the council's request had been that the building inspector would provide 2 days of office hours, and they'd be 2 hours of each on those 2 days, so total 4 hours of office hours each week. The proposed contract from WBI would have 2 days of 1.5 hours each day. So, and the contract currently for consideration would have that. So there would be basically one less hour per week on office hours than we had originally requested. The current building inspector, I should say our prior building inspector, was doing 2 days, 2 hours each day. So this would be a change. I don't know if Vince or his colleague wants to talk more about why they feel like 1.5 hours each day is sufficient. But I just want council to be aware of the difference from what was put in the initial request versus what's in the contract. So.
Do you feel that's a detriment to the city? having one less hour a week?
Are they still, are they accessible by internet or phone, telephone during that time? I mean, and the question would be if they need to, do they come into the office? Excuse me, ladies, I've got to take a break, guys.
Yeah, Vince, do you want to address that?
Sure. We are in the area every single day. So in the office, we would meet customers, residents that come in, but we also process a lot of our permits outside the office. So this gives us more flexibility at the end of the day to make sure that we're there to provide the out inspections, the exterior inspections. But we are there. We will be here every single day. We'll have someone in the area every single day. Our plan is to work closely with the zoning administrator, and when she's in, we would probably be here almost every day for a half hour to see what's going on with the planner, what's going on in the city, what we have coming up for zoning, etc. So those are just hours that we're here, basically not processing our permits, because that's really, but if anybody comes in with questions or concerns, we are available every single day via text, via phone, or via email.
I don't see an hour as a deal breaker.
I don't either.
I mean, as long as people can still text them or call them or email them on their quote-unquote, non-office time, they say they're gonna keep up with it, so I don't have an issue with 1 hour.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Wait for Kurt to come back. Has he made the motion?
Any more questions, any comments? And it's a contract, so should it be a roll call? Okay, roll call, please.
All right.
No, that's, we know he's voting yes. Go for it.
I bet those firefighters are happy I moved them up.
Okay. You're up.
Okay, Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Sure.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. We've got discussion and possible decision regarding proposed ordinance number 24-07 and ordinance amending the Elkhorn Municipal Code at sections 17.14-6 and 18.100 relating to the zoning code and subdivision code and establishing fee schedules by resolution. A first and possible second reading.
I'd like to make a motion to waive the first reading, please.
Second. Go ahead.
We've got a motion and a second to waive the first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We're waiving the first reading, and then we've got the second reading.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
The motion and a second, any discussion? My understanding is this is putting the new fee structure into the code for the new building inspectors.
Yes, it's providing flexibility so that you can adopt fee changes by resolution versus needing to amend your ordinance every time. So that's what the series of ordinances and resolutions are doing.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Just only that the last time the city ordinance was updated to reflect the fees or to change fees was 2009. So, it's obviously been a long time. And that's part of the reason why the proposal is to change it so that in the future, the fees are going to be set by resolution rather than ordinance, just because it'll be much easier for the council to update them as opposed to trying to redo the code, so.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We've got discussion of possible decision regarding proposed ordinance number 24-08, an ordinance amending the Elkhorn Municipal Code at sections 14.02, 14.04, 15.04, 16.17, and 16.24 relating to the building code, plumbing code, electrical code, and establishing fee schedules by resolution, and repealing Chapter 23 of the Elkhorn Municipal Code relating to the same. First and possible second reading.
I'd like to make a motion to waive the first reading.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And then the second reading.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the second reading, please.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? This is directly related to what we just passed.
Correct.
So. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Discussion and possible decision regarding Resolution 2426, a resolution approving the fee schedule for permits under building, electrical, plumbing, zoning, subdivision codes for the city of Elkhorn.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
The only question I have is, under the general notes, it says gross square footage calculations are based on exterior dimensions, including garage, and each floor level, including basements, foundations, and stoop areas. When we're talking about square footage, I had the wonderful experience of getting a permit for a shed and found out that my attached garage wasn't an attached garage, but it was an outbuilding. So my question is, because we're talking about fees and we're talking about, basing it on square footage, should we be including the garage in these when our zoning looks at an attached garage as an outbuilding?
I'm not aware of any zoning, and I haven't looked at the zoning code, but typically, your zoning has two different features: a primary principal structure with an attached garage, and a secondary structure, which is an accessory building.
I understand that. I was kind of surprised to see my attached garage was included in the outdoor, the calculations for putting in a shed. Because we just converted, or not converted, but we tried to take all the outbuildings and use the same zoning for city and rural. And I forget what the square footage is, but, because when I had to when I was going to put up a shed, they were including my garage as part of the outbuildings. So I understand it's normally not. I know what I was shown, and I know what I was told. So my only thing is because we're talking about fees here, we either have to change it. Go ahead.
I don't know I'm just, from hearing your story, the only thing I'm thinking of is there's areas that we're in where they'll count your spaces as you're only allowed certain square footage of a shed. So I don't know if that was fee related, but I think they might have used that because you might be only allowed 850 square feet of an accessory structure, and then they would pull that garage off of there.
Either that or could have.
Right, but the thing is, if it was unattached, I would say, go for it.
But that was the zoning for probably saying that you're allowed this large a structure. It's got nothing to do with what your dollar amount would be for that permit.
And are you sure it wasn't
Well, it would be
floor area ratio in the zoning?
It was total square footage of outbuildings. It said it included attached and detached garages, sheds, and outbuildings is the way it was written. And I'm saying, that's what I was given. That's what should still be in, as far as the instructions go. I don't know how including a garage or not including a garage in calculations would change a cost of a permit. I don't know, but when I see attached garage being included in this, it's like, wait a minute, my experience was an attached garage isn't an attached garage. It's part of the outbuildings.
Is that something we can bring to the zoning administrator's attention and bring this back if it needs to be updated later?
I just don't want to
She's just not here, so we don't know
And
that answer.
that's what I would recommend. We definitely recommend moving forward with the revised fee schedules, consistent then with the contract with the building inspector and removing them from the ordinance, which is the action that you just took. We can certainly follow up with the zoning administrator on that question, and if there's a tweak that we need to bring back, we'll bring that back, or otherwise report out at a later date.
Yeah, because I don't want to, there's no reason to hold it up. It's just, I want to make sure it's addressed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did we have a?
Yeah, we did.
We had a motion,
Yep,
okay.
and a second.
A motion and a second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We've got discussion of possible decision regarding contract with city assessor, accurate appraisal for 2025 through 2029.
I would so move.
To approve?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion, any questions?
Is this who we currently use?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to focus back on Mr. Crosby's 3 minutes and the experience that he had with these folks. It was out of the system, and he had no way of arbitrating it past that. I don't mind the count. I guess I just want to make sure that people have the ability to be heard. In Mr. Crosby's situation, he wasn't heard. And I'm not sure, but there was certainly either a misunderstanding or falsehoods stated. I would rather have it not happen at all, but I think that we have to come up with something to make sure that there's still an oversight of the company somehow, where this person, because
I was gonna say, isn't it the border review?
Yes.
It's the BOR, he mentioned BOR.
right, that's where he comes in and he pleads his case about his taxes.
Correct.
Right,
Right.
but
well,
the
they
tax
didn't-
assessment is done by either the increasing or decreasing of the value of your home based on accurate assessment.
Right, but there was at no time was Mr. Crosby spoken to about any of this. All these decisions were made without any input from him. That's where the difficulty with this is coming from. So if he had another or has another option to get it addressed a second time, I think that would solve the issue here.
Mr. Crosby is well aware of the process, and he knows of all his options. And if he wants me to reach out to them, I would be happy to do so.
Okay.
I did do a lot of research on this, and I just wanted to update you that in our area, there are just a few appraisal companies. There are a lot out there, but in our area, we have a few, and our contract amount is right in line with other cities our size. If you have questions about that, I'd be happy to answer it. But for Mr. Crosby, I can
You
help
already been
him.
given all this information?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yep.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness,
Yes.
Scott McClory.
Yes.
We got discussion and possible decision regarding execution of contract change order number 1 for the Highway 67 bypass lane project.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion, a second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness.
Yes.
Motion passes. Discussion and possible decision regarding proposed resolution 24-27, declaring official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of borrowing for various 2024 capital improvement projects and water system projects.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion a second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Peter Harvey,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness,
Yes.
Scott McClure,
Yes.
Ken Minell.
Yes.
Motion passes. Now do we need a motion to go into closed session? Can I get a motion to go?
Make that motion to go into closed session.
Second.
You need to state the full,
Yeah, you guys stay there.
you gotta state, someone has to read the whole piece.
Okay. Pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85, 1G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. So we have a motion, a second to go into closed session.
Roll call.
Yes.
Roll call.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Peter Harvey.
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness.
Yes.
Motion carried. 7:29 PM, back in open session.
Okay, and your motion?
You gotta read the thing, don't you?
Go back into open session?
No, the discussion and possible decision.
Oh, no, not once we're back in open.
Just the discussion and
That's item
possible
A.
decision.
Well,
Yeah.
right, the agenda item
Yeah,
is
item A.
A.
Okay, discussion and possible decision regarding notice of claim from Nick Rockweiler.
I make a motion that we, pay his claim in the amount stated on his
1,600.
Notice of claim.
notice of claim.
Subject to release of, subject to the execution of a release of the
That's
city.
my motion.
Let me ask you, doesn't cash?
I learned that from Gary.
Hang on a second. I'll second. Go ahead now.
Can't, isn't it, if he gets the check and cashes it, can't that just be on the check and that becomes the release?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so
That's-
then we've got it, okay, just, fine. I
Have
mean,
you
it
been
works
mo-
for us, I'm sure he's gonna, he'll sign what he
Basically,
needs.
by signing the document that Elaine talked about, he waives all rights in the future to come back after us.
Right.
So,
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Peter Harvey,
yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Kurt Harkness.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Not to reconvene.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.